That is, brothers. Man, we can sit here and talk about a lot of things, man. You know, quantum leaping, manifestation, moving forward, walking in your I am. You know what I'm saying? We can talk about all those things, but at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to you being accountable to the new version of yourself, bro. It's gonna come down to you being accountable to the new version of yourself. You know what I'm saying? We can make journals, we can count beads, we can do all these things to get us in this state of being, this state of mind. But if we aren't going to stay in this state, we're really wasting our time, man. We're really wasting our time. It's going to come down to you being accountable to the new version of yourself. You know what I'm saying? First, let me say this, man. I want to say this. Like, again, like I just said, we can sit here and talk about a lot of things. We can sit here and talk about a lot of techniques and things and ways and means and methods to get into, I'll say this high of life. But that high of life is only temporary. Getting in that quick high of life, kind of like going to church. You know, when you come out of church and you're feeling all good, that's a high. But the thing is, you have to learn how to bottle these highs up and maintain the frequency of that high, which is God's state. And I'm gonna tell you this, man, we can sit here and talk about a lot of powerful things. There's nothing more powerful than understanding God's state. There's nothing more powerful than a man understanding what he can do if he understands locking in to a God state. There's nothing more powerful, man. Get out of these stairs, brother. When I say God state, when I say you got to understand how important it is. Like, again, you can try all the things and the counting and the prostrating all you want, man. If you aren't finding this state, you really aren't moving. You know what I'm saying? You really aren't transforming. You're not doing that thing that you think you're doing. You have to find that God. Let me say it like this. Finding that God state is one way to say it. You have to get lost in your prayer. I want to say it like that. You have to get lost in your prayer. So when you get to the point where no other world exists except the world that you're desiring. Like I made that video a few days ago. I think it was called something like ignoring your reality. That's what I mean. It's the same conversation. You have to get to the point where you're ignoring the world that you see, and you're only identifying, you're only vibrating, you're only responding to the world that you're going to. Bro, when I say the most powerful thing in existence, there's nothing more powerful than that. Like, that's our power as that's our superpower as humans. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna tell you this: every time I make a move in life, a move forward, like, there's always a moment where I recognize or I become made aware of the prayer that I was just lost in. Every single time I make that, like, there's a moment where I'm aware of it. And the way that I know I'm becoming aware of it is I feel fear for about a few seconds. I'll feel fear. And I'm gonna tell you this, I never feel fear. I never feel fear. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to being sick, when it comes to death, when it comes to loss, not having food, not having shelter, I never feel fear. It's not even a thing. The only time I feel fear, let this ambulance pass. The only time that I feel fear is when I become aware that I'm in my prayer. Let me say it like this. Hold on. Let me pause with the truck back. And I'm gonna tell you what I mean. And the reason I'm speaking about this is I had this moment yesterday. Like there's a moment, and like when I say I feel fear, like for example, yesterday, I'm doing my I'm at the crib and I'm doing my exercise, man. Matter of fact, I'll try to link to this guy that I follow, man, brother that I love, man. Little youngster be doing these calisthenics, man. He's sharp. He's about to get me right, man. I'll leave a link. But I'm sitting there doing my burpees, man, and I'm counting my burpees in Thai. You know what I'm saying? I'm counting my burpees in Thai. And as I'm going down, I'm counting, and as I'm coming up, I'm looking at a small fraction of the Bangkok skyline. And I had this moment where I just stopped. And it was almost like a moment of, I was saying, where the fuck am I? It was almost that kind of moment. It was almost like I was coming out of some state that I was unaware of. Even though I was aware of the state because I'm walking in it. It was almost like I was coming out of the state of creating. You know what I'm saying? Coming out of a creation state. And I had this moment of fear for about 5 to 10 seconds, like, oh snap, I'm in this place. What am I doing? What do I do next? What? It's like a 10-second state of confusion, which I'm calling fear. Confusion is fear to me. And I'm like, oh snap. And after about 10 seconds, my nervous system just regulated. And it was like, no, not like you created this, like you're here now. And it was almost like me, and I won't say coming out of my state of prayer, but just being aware that I had gone into it. And this has happened many a times before, and I won't say many. This has happened 4 or 5 times in life before. Like I told you at the time, man, when I found myself, this is some years ago, 2012, 13, 14, somewhere in there. Where I found myself living in this stagnant way of life. Life was good, bills were paid, nice vehicle, nice crib, you know, life was good. And I just said, man, I just desired more. I just wanted more. I was tired of life being stagnant. And I went into this state. And when I say I went into this state, like I created this world in my mind. I created this world in my mind. And when I say got lost in my prayer, when I wasn't working, when I wasn't doing anything that required my attention in this physical, this third dimensional plane, I'll use the word escape. I would escape into this world in my mind and live in this world where I was more abundant, where I lived in a different place, where I had more motion going on. I had more toys in the garage. And I just lived in that state, man, and I would get lost in that state. And it got to the point where I captured that energy for so long that I could never live my life without being in that frequency. So which means even when I came out of my mindset, that frequency was still with me. You know what I'm saying? So I had gotten lost in my prayer, is what I'm saying. And one day, man, I can remember I was with this sister, this chick that I was dating back then. Anyway, and I was in the backyard. I'm in the backyard, and she said something. No, she lit up a cigarette. She lit up this cigarette, and for some reason, I just had this thought, and this fear came over me. This state of confusion came over me, and I was looking around like, dang, like my backyard is nice, green grass, like an 8-foot privacy fence. And I thought about what was in my garage, man. I said, man, I got that truck out there. I bought me a Challenger SRT8. I had bought me a Hayabusa. I had bought me a 4-wheeler, and all this stuff was in the garage. I'm gonna see if I can find that old picture somewhere. Right? And I was just sitting there saying, and I had the same thought. I said, what's going on? Like, how did I, like, where have I been for the last 90 days? Like, I don't remember all this. And the thing is, I was just lost in this world in my mind. And when you get lost in that world in your mind, that world because you got to understand this. When you get lost in a world, that means that all your thoughts, all your actions, all your behaviors, your demeanor, everything about you is going to vibrate there. Everything about you is going to vibrate from that new world. In the world, like I've said a billion times, The world is responding to us as opposed to us responding to it. The world is responding to us as opposed to us responding to it. You know what I'm saying? So whatever you tell the world is, it is. And that comes from your frequency. All right, so like I was saying, you have to get lost in that prayer. And once you get lost in that prayer, that's going to be the world that will at some point find itself wrapped around you. You know what I'm saying? To the point where even when that world begins to wrap itself around you, you will almost forget that you're creating it. I'm in the mall, man. I just came in on the backside. I don't even know if they're open. The doors were open, so. But it's like 10 in the morning, so they might have just opened up. But it's pretty much a ghost town. And this is one of the smaller malls in Bangkok. This is Seacon Square. And it's a monster. And it's one of the smallest malls here, man. I don't think I've ever been in on this backside though. But like I was saying, man, having said all that, having talked about getting lost in your prayer and that world forming itself around you. Now, how do we make that happen? Going back to what I first started saying. You have to be accountable to the new version of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how you go into that state. That's how you bring that world to be, by when you oh, that's what's getting on my nerves. I got my earbuds in. I'm like, why can't I hear myself? I hope that traffic wasn't too loud when I was outside, because I really couldn't hear it. Yeah, give me a sec, bro. I gotta somewhat navigate myself around this place. But like I was saying, man, like that's what I'm saying. Like to get to that state where you're actually lost in your prayer, it's a matter of you simply becoming accountable to the version or to the person that you say you're going to be. Like that's how it's done. Being accountable to the version or the person that you say you're going to be. And that's the hard part. That's the most difficult part. Because like I say all the time, like I tell my brothers in the power circle, man. Like before you put yourself around other men that are shooting for the stars and that are doing big things, like everybody that's flying solo think they're flying high. If you have nobody or nothing to compare yourself to, you think you're flying high. Like every single man that has no circle around him, he think he's the hardest grinder. He think he's hustling the hardest. He think he's getting it, until you put yourself around people that are doing it. And I'm not saying everybody's put themselves in a circle. I would suggest you put yourself in some kind of circle. But it all comes down to self-accountability. You have to be accountable for the person that you say you're going to be. You know what I'm saying? Let me find me something to drink while I'm looking for something to thirst my quench. Let me give a shout out to my brothers, man. First off, I want to give a shout out to all my brothers in the power circle, right? But then I want to give a shout out to my brothers, Chris Cadet. He got an album dropping. Check him out. Google him, Chris Cadet. And my brother EJ, who's here in Bangkok, right? Them my accountability brothers. Them are my brothers that we look out for each other. Our power of three is what we call it. My brothers were every day we accountable for. Hey, you said you were going to do this thing. You said you were going to be this person. You said you were going to walk in this prayer. I'm making sure you stay there. That's why I'm out now walking, man. Getting my steps in. I got to get a number of thousands of steps in today. That's part of my package. That's part of my new I am. But it all comes down to you being accountable to that new version of yourself. Like that's it. So in other words, when you say you're going to be a certain person, when you're saying you're going to do a certain thing, right? It requires you doing certain things every day. It requires you knocking out certain tasks. It requires you being a certain person. It requires you showing up a certain way. It requires your demeanor to be a certain way. It requires you going to a state of prayer. All you have to do, man, or what you must make sure you do, is that you go into that state and you never come out. You go into that state and you never come out. And once you do, man, you'll have one of those euphoric moments. Yeah, horses up here. You'll have one of those euphoric moments when you'll come out of that trance. You'll come out of that trance one day, man. And like I said, man, I never feel fear, but I felt fear yesterday, man. And I only feel it like once every number of years. And that fear was just a confusion of me realizing, oh snap, you created something and now you're aware that it's been created. And it's a fear of like, oh snap, it's kind of like a baby being born. That's what it's like. I'm sure if a baby could speak, hear me out. I'm sure that if a baby could speak, they would explain the exact same thing that I'm talking about. Like they were in a state of creation. I want to be on earth. I want to be on earth. And boom, once they realize they've been born, there's a fear. They're sitting there crying. There's a certain fear that's come over them, a state of confusion. You know what I'm saying? And after about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they might settle down and say, oh snap, I'm here. The baby done slapped me on, the doctor done slapped me on my ass and I'm here now. Now I can go back in this God state, but I'm aware that I'm in this God state. That's all I'm saying, brothers. Get lost in the prayer and being accountable for the new version of yourself.